It is Thursday the 31st of May 2018. It's one of those mornings. I got to the far side allotment just to check on it and to move an empty beehive, and when I got there I found that there was a swarm circling around over the apple tree, and so obviously one of our hives there had swarmed. So I waited to see where the swarm would form up, and I saw it. It was right at the top of the apple tree, about maybe 4 metres off the ground. So I had to come home, get a sheet, put it on the ground underneath the tree, and get a cardboard box, because I decided it was going to be the easiest way to deal with it, and then get a chair on which I stood with a extremely long set of loppers, extendable loppers, and snipped off the branch that had the bees on them. That fell to the ground, and then I came back home, just had breakfast, and I'm heading back to see whether we've actually managed to catch the swarm, because we'd had put a cardboard box on top of most of the bees in the hope that they'll all go into it, assuming that the queen was there. As I left, I noticed also there was still some bees forming up a cluster on the top of the tree, so we'll find out in a moment where whether we've managed successfully to capture this swarm or not. Well, there's the box, and it looks as though bees have gone into it. I'm not entirely sure, because up here is another swarm. Well, not another swarm, but what may actually be in the quite a large cluster of bees from this original swarm. I'm going to have to put the bee suit on to check inside that box, and if it looks as though we haven't caught the queen in there and she's actually up on in that cluster at the top of the apple tree, then I'm going to have to get back on with the loppers standing on the chair. Yep. Right. We've got them. Right. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to get back on the chair with the loppers, and I'm going to snip that branch off if I can reach it, let it drop down onto the sheet here, and hopefully the bees will then go and join the other bees in that box there, because I think the way that the bees have formed up in that box would suggest that the queen is in there, and the cluster of bees at the top will follow where the queen is. So that's the plan. I just had a second thought, and this might actually be a better plan, is to tip that box of bees into this spare hive that I'd already put here behind the other two hives. But I put this here ready to house the swarm. But if I move that to under the apple tree, which was actually where we wanted to put another hive anyway, we could tip the bees in, then snip off the branch from the top of that tree, let it drop down, and then hopefully the bees will just go into this hive because the queen will be here. Well, by various means I've managed to shake most of the bees off the top of the tree. There's still some that are determined to cluster up there, but on my last attempt I did manage to shake most of them down. Probably hear them all buzzing away. But there is a determination by some of them to form up a cluster at the top of the tree. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to leave them, because most of them now seem to be interested in going into the hive, and I'm hoping that the ones that are in the tree will eventually follow them as well. So I'm just going to leave this to settle down. As you can see, there's quite a traffic jam of them to get into the hive there, and these are the ones that I've shaken off the tree, and hopefully they'll all end up inside. I think what they're doing is they now know the queen's in there, and they're following her in through the entrance there. I've left it for about an hour and a half. I just got back now, and there's a whole cluster, quite a large cluster of bees on the front of the hive. What I'm hoping has happened is that the queen is still in the hive, and this cluster here is the one that was previously up in the tree and then circulating around a bit, and I'm hoping that gradually they're just going in to the hive, but there's nothing much I can do at the minute. I'm just going to have to come back a bit later and see whether it's all worked, but at least it hasn't flown off, which is the big danger. Last looked at the hive 2 hours ago, and I was hoping 2 hours on from then that all those bees would have gone inside the hive, and at the minute they are all sitting on the outside, so I think I'm going to have to intervene to put them all inside. I ended up doing a lot of umming and ahhing about what to do about this hive, and I decided to leave it until 7 o'clock in the evening, and if the bees were still all over the front of the hive, then I'd intervene, brush them into a box, and then just tip them into the hive, and that is what I've had to do. So I'm just going to swing the camera around now, and we'll take a look. So there's still some bees on the front, but it's not the case that loads of them are pouring out of the entrance, because they're not. They seem to be staying in, so hopefully the queen is inside. And I suspect the reason why all the bees were outside the box, or so many of them were outside the box, was because we hadn't actually got the queen in the box. So now that I think we have got the queen in there, then hopefully a few remaining bees outside will go in. I've just spent a few minutes getting a sack of grass for the goats, so we'll see if there's been any appreciable change to the hive. That is looking a bit better. In fact, it looks as though they are heading down towards the entrance there, which means a success. The queen's inside.